Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, after a long delay, I am finally diving deep into the Squid Game 2 series. My goal is to untangle the scattered storylines and figure out how they connect. I also look at the hidden details and try to predict how these threads will come together in future seasons. The story feels incomplete because the ending was saved for season 3. It's like the second half of season 2 is coming later, with the next chapter set to release on Netflix in July, about 6 months from now. So let's dive in. Let's start with the frontman storyline, which was pretty fragmented this season. Throughout the show, he kept saying there's nothing morally wrong with the games. He believed they were cleaning up society's trash. But this mindset doesn't align with his past. We learn that the frontman used to be a police officer who helped others whenever he could. For example, he donated a kidney to his brother. However, when his wife needed expensive medical treatment, he couldn't afford it and she passed away. In the previous season, we saw his file, which revealed that he accepted bribes and was fired from the police force. It's likely he took those bribes in a desperate attempt to save his wife, but it backfired. His family also admitted they couldn't provide much support. Feeling hopeless, he joined Squid Game in 2015 and won. But when he returned home with the prize money, he discovered his wife had already passed away. This mirrors what happened to Gi-hun, the main character, who found out his mother had died when he returned home. The key difference is how these two characters reacted. The frontman, fueled by his anger towards society, became part of the Squid Game system. In contrast, Gi-hun wants to destroy it. They're opposites shaped by similar tragedies. In their car conversation, the frontman opened up to Gi-hun, saying he had once sat in the same seat after winning the game in 2015. He compared his choice to the red and blue pills from the Matrix. The blue pill would have allowed him to enjoy his money and live a carefree life. But he chose the red pill to learn the truth. What is this truth? According to the frontman, humanity is a lie. People abandon morality when faced with extreme situations. This idea aligns with the beliefs of the old man from the first season. The old man who created the games convinced the frontman that humanity is nothing but a facade. He argued that when pushed to the brink, people turn on each other for personal gain. That's the essence of Squid Game, creating situations where people must betray others to survive. The frontman bought into this philosophy, calling it the red pill. If you remember, the old man mentioned this during his final game with Gi-hun, claiming humanity was inherently selfish and cruel. The connection between the frontman and the old man runs deep. The old man passed on his twisted views, and now the frontman sees himself as someone who understands the truth about human nature. In the last episode, there was a similar game played by Gi-hun. He made a bet. If someone came to help the homeless person before midnight, he'd lose. But if no one helped, it would prove that people don't care about each other, and he'd win. With this, he wanted to justify the logic behind the Squid Game. But in the end, humanity triumphed. We saw the old man lose, witness his own defeat, and pass away. Now in season 3, something similar might happen to the front man. He could face a moment of defeat in the last minutes. So far, it seems that Gi-hun represents hope and humanity, while the front man stands for the belief that humanity doesn't exist. In the car scene, Gi-hun said he could destroy the game from the inside by making people refuse to play by its cruel rules. He believed in the goodness of people, and the front man accepted his challenge, allowing him back into the game. The front man even joined the game himself to prove Gi-hun wrong. You can see this in how the front man reacts during the games. For example, during the game where Gi-hun left some people outside to save his group, which led to their deaths, the front man smiled. That smile showed he was happy because everything was going according to his plan. His motivation for joining the game was to prove to Gi-hun that he's wrong. And you can tell by watching when the front man smiles, those moments show he feels like he's winning. Frontman wanted to prove that even the Gi-hun doesn't have humanity. In fact, he believed that when the time comes, the Gi-hun could be worse than everyone else. For example, during the rebellion in the game, the frontman let things escalate for a while. He could have stopped it with a simple radio call, but he didn't. He wanted to show that Gi-hun, in trying to make his plans work, sacrificed some people at the start and caused the deaths of even more later. There's an online theory suggesting that after Gi-hun is captured by the frontman, he might realize that humanity doesn't exist. This theory claims that Gi-hun could even turn into the next frontman. But this theory doesn't seem likely. Gi-hun and the frontman represent two opposite ideas, hope and despair. If Gi-hun fails, it would mean the story supports the frontman's negative view of humanity, which doesn't match the moral message of the series. It's more likely that Gi-hun will defeat the frontman in the end, probably destroying the games in the process. He might even sacrifice himself to do it. In the next season, we'll likely learn more about the frontman's backstory. At the end of this season, in the post-credits scene, we saw a game similar to Red Light, Green Light with a new doll. We also saw Player 100. Interestingly, Player 100 looks like the old man from Season 1, but his hair isn't white and he doesn't seem old. This suggests that the scene might be a flashback, possibly showing the 2015 games where the frontman participated. We'll likely learn what happened to him during those games and how he became the person he is. This is just a theory. It might turn out to be wrongs. Another interesting detail about the frontman is that his heart isn't completely dark. Over the years, his brother, the police officer, couldn't find the island because the sailor helping him was secretly working with the frontman. The officer trusted this sailor because after the frontman shot him, the sailor came to save his life. Since the officer owed his life to the sailor, he trusted him completely. But in reality, the sailor was ensuring that the officer stayed away from the island. So far, the police officer hasn't managed to find the island. Remember that scene when they said they placed a radar in Gi-hun's tooth? If you noticed the sailor's reaction, it was clear he immediately understood how dangerous this was. He tipped off the frontman, which is why they removed the radar from Gi-hun's tooth before the game began. Theory that Gi-hun might become the next frontman seems unlikely. One moment in the show suggests this isn't true. When they were in the room, and the mysterious woman, acting like she knew the future, hinted at Gi-hun's importance. She looked at the pregnant woman, smiled at her belly, then turned to Gi-hun and said, "So that's why you're here. This baby will play a major role in your journey." This could foreshadow that Gi-hun might sacrifice himself to save the baby in a selfless act that defies the selfish nature of the Squid Game. The theme of humanity versus selfishness might reach its peak here. Gi-hun could prove to the frontman that humanity and kindness still exist, even in a cruel world. So far, we've seen 3 games, 3 more remain. If you notice the wall drawings, they hint at the next challenges. One involves players holding onto bars and crossing a bridge. Anyone who falls gets eliminated. Another game looks like a version of human chess. Players might team up to play chess, where losing a piece could mean death. Finally, the 6th and final game is likely to be the Squid Game itself. In that final showdown, we might see the frontman remove his mask. Gi-hun might realize that the frontman is number 1, just like in Season 1, when he discovered the old man was the mastermind behind everything. The show highlights the importance of empathy over selfishness and tries to show what we can do to make society less cruel. It portrays good and bad people, where the bad ones are selfish and the good ones care for others. Probably Gi-hun will eventually decide how the story ends. 2 characters play a big role here. One is the woman from North Korea, and the other is the police officer. It seems like these 2 storylines will eventually connect. First, we learn that this woman lost her daughter in North Korea 7 years ago. She initially worked as a laborer in Squid Game to earn money, wearing the circle uniform. Over time, she moved up and was given the right to carry a weapon, switching to the triangle uniform. We then see 2 issues with her. First, she tries to stop the trafficking of human organs and even kills those involved at the last moment. But later she's caught and threatened, which forces her to not interfere with the last shipment of human organs. She allowed it to happen, but it's unlikely she'll stay passive in the rest of the story. She'll probably betray her allies again over this issue. Why? Because her second problem is that she's very empathetic, especially toward the man whose daughter had cancer. Remember, this woman had two jobs. Her main job was dressing up as a doll and entertaining kids at an amusement park. Then, during the Squid Game competitions, which happen once a year, she'd switch to wearing the soldier's uniform to earn extra money. While working at the amusement park, she noticed a child with cancer. Later, she found out that the child's father had joined the Squid Game to pay for his daughter's treatment. In the final moments, we saw that same father being attacked by one of the soldiers. It wasn't clear who shot him, but if you notice, the bullet didn't hit his heart. It was aimed slightly off to just injure him. This was likely done so they could later harvest his organs. This time, the woman will probably cause trouble again for the organ traffickers, especially since she now has extra motivation to save the child's father. Her actions will likely intersect with the police storyline. In Season 2, the director placed a lot of emphasis on showing that the last shipment of human organs was successfully smuggled through the tunnels. The camera even highlighted it. Most likely, the person carrying the shipment will get caught by the police, leading them to discover a way onto the island. As for how the police get closer to the island, it's likely they'll suspect the sailor of betrayal and manage to get some useful information out of him. The police manage to get closer to the island and eventually discover the hidden tunnels used for organ trafficking. These tunnels also give them a way to infiltrate the island. If you remember from the previous video, we talked about how these tunnels were designed as escape routes for important individuals, like the front man or VIP guests. For example, one tunnel leads directly to the VIP section. While these tunnels were originally meant to ensure safety for high-ranking people, they've now become a major vulnerability for the island. The police officer will likely use one of these tunnels to enter the island, heading straight to the VIP section. By the time this happens, the games will probably have progressed to the final stages, coinciding with the arrival of the VIP guests. There's also a significant point about the storyline involving the child with cancer. It's been emphasized that the child needs a specific bone marrow donor. It's highly likely that this woman will redeem herself by donating her bone marrow in the end, completing her arc of redemption. Her transformation contrasts with the recruiter we've heard about before. That recruiter shared his own story. He started at the lowest level, burning bodies while wearing the circle uniform. Over time, he was promoted and given a gun, eventually climbing the ranks to his current position. He revealed that the first time he held a gun and executed someone, he felt powerful, like he was made for that role. In a shocking twist, he even mentioned that his own father participated in one of the games, and he was the one who executed him. His motivation was rooted in his belief that the outside world was full of injustice. However, within the game's brutal but absolute justice, he felt captivated and saw himself as a part of it. Even in the end, when he committed suicide, he stayed loyal to the system. He refused to accept defeat, even when Gihan tried to convince him to leave and admit the flaws of the Squid Game system. His loyalty to the game remained unshaken until the very last moment. This character was just a pawn, nothing more. But because he believed so strongly that Squid Game was a fair system, he chose to die rather than face humiliation. This makes him the exact opposite of the woman's character. Now let's take a quick look at the season itself. Honestly, it wasn't as strong as the first season. There were fewer plot twists, and its biggest weakness was the abrupt ending. It felt unfinished and disappointing. However, just like the first season, it still had some powerful visuals. For example, the way human selfishness was portrayed was really interesting. Remember in the first episode the mother and son who entered the game together? At first, when the son realized how dangerous the red light, green light game was, he hid his mother behind him to protect her. But a few episodes later, when money became the focus, he abandoned his mother and didn't try to protect her anymore. This showed how money can change people in a very impactful way. Another memorable scene was during one of the games when even the heroes of the story stepped on the blood of others to move forward, leaving bloody footprints behind. They eventually met up and started joking and laughing. The director used this to show how people can quickly adapt to the worst injustices around them, and how even the best people might not act correctly in extreme situations. Let's hope that Season 3 gives us a satisfying conclusion, with characters showing selflessness and finally defeating the Squid Game system for good. That way, the series can leave us with a great story and a positive memory. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update. See you in the next one.